The sharp blare of warning signals filled the small scout ship as it plummeted through Earth's atmosphere. Red's four-fingered hands moved frantically across the control panel, trying to stabilize the dying vessel. Warning lights flashed across their deep blue-scaled skin, reflecting off the crystalline patches that marked them as a first commander of the Crescent Empire's elite forces. The ship shouldn't have been anywhere near this primitive world. It was supposed to be a routine patrol of the Empire's outer territories, watching for pirates and rebels. Instead, an unknown enemy vessel had ambushed them, using weapons Red had never seen before. The main ship was destroyed, and Red's scout vessel had taken heavy damage while trying to escape. Emergency protocols engaged. The ship's computer announced in the musical language of Red's people. Warning: critical system failure. Structural integrity at 15%. Red knew the ship wouldn't survive much longer. They had trained for crash landings, but never on a world like this. Earth was classified as a developing planet, home to a species that had barely reached their own moon. The humans were considered so primitive that the Empire hadn't even bothered to establish proper monitoring stations around their world. The ground rushed up faster now. Red could see green patches of what their database called forests through breaks in the clouds. They pulled back hard on the controls, trying to level out the ship's descent. The vessel groaned in protest, pieces of its outer hull breaking away. Structural integrity at 8%. Impact imminent. Red sent out an emergency beacon on all standard frequencies. It was pointless, really. No Empire ships were stationed anywhere near this sector, and the humans' primitive technology couldn't possibly detect the quantum-based signal. Still, protocol demanded they try. The tree line was coming up fast now. Red braced themselves, using all four arms to grip the safety harness. The ship's nose clipped the first tree, sending it into a violent spin. More trees snapped like twigs as the vessel carved a path through the forest. Red's head slammed against the side of the cockpit. Through blurring vision, they saw the ground racing up to meet them. The impact was devastating. The ship's remaining structure crumpled like paper, protective fields failing in cascading waves of energy. Something sharp pierced Red's lower right side, sending waves of burning pain through their body. The cockpit filled with smoke and the acrid smell of burning circuitry. Red tried to move but found themselves pinned. Their lower right arm was definitely broken, and they could feel warm blood seeping from multiple wounds. The emergency medical kit was only a few feet away, secured to the wall, but it might as well have been miles with how trapped they were. Through the pain and growing dizziness, Red's military training kicked in. They needed to assess the situation. The ship was a total loss. Their position was unknown, but they were definitely somewhere in the northern hemisphere of Earth, based on the vegetation they'd seen. The emergency beacon was still transmitting, but rescue could take days or weeks, assuming anyone even picked up the signal. And then there were the humans. Red had studied reports about them during their command training. They were a paradox of a species, technically primitive, but advancing at an alarming rate. They were violent and tribal, yet showed strange tendencies toward cooperation. They hadn't even unified their planet under a single government, which made them barely worth noting in galactic terms. The smoke in the cockpit was getting thicker. Red tried again to free themselves, but only succeeded in sending fresh waves of pain through their body. Their vision was starting to dim around the edges. Blood loss, probably. The medical scanners would have been able to tell them exactly how bad their injuries were, but like everything else in the ship, they were dead. Red's training had covered what to do if captured by enemies, but it had never addressed what to do if found by primitives. Would the humans even recognize them as a living being? Would they attack on sight? There were too many unknowns, and Red's normally sharp mind was getting foggy. Through the broken view screen, Red could see Earth's sun starting to set, painting the sky in colors surprisingly similar to their homeworld. They thought of their clutch mates back home, wondering if they would ever know what happened to their sibling. In the Empire's military, being listed as missing in action was considered a shameful end. The pain was getting worse, and Red could feel themselves slipping toward unconsciousness. They tried to focus on their breathing, using meditation techniques taught in survival training. Each breath sent stabbing pains through their chest, suggesting broken ribs. The air was thinner than their homeworld, making it even harder to stay conscious. A sound caught their attention. Voices coming from somewhere nearby. Human voices. Red tried to reach for their sidearm, but found it had been thrown clear in the crash. They were defenseless, trapped, and about to be discovered by primitives who had never made official contact with alien life. The voices were getting closer. Red could hear the crunch of feet on broken branches and what sounded like primitive communication devices, radios, if they remembered their briefings correctly. The humans must have spotted the ship coming down. Red tried one last time to free themselves, but the effort sent black spots dancing across their vision. Through the haze of smoke and pain, Red saw the first human face appear at the broken view screen. Their blurring vision made it hard to make out details, but they could see the human's eyes widen in surprise. More faces appeared, and Red heard excited talking in the human's simple language. Red tried to appear threatening, letting out a warning hiss that would have sent most junior officers running. Instead of fleeing, though, the humans seemed to be trying to find a way into the wreckage. Were they after salvage? Did they want to capture Red for study? The Empire's briefings had never been clear about human reactions to alien life, mainly because they had never considered first contact with them important enough to plan for. The last thing Red saw before losing consciousness was a human reaching toward them with some kind of tool. They tried to move away, but their body wouldn't respond anymore. As darkness took them, Red's final thought was that this was a terrible way for a first commander to die. Helpless and alone on a primitive world, about to become an experimental subject for barely civilized beings. They never expected to wake up again. They certainly never expected what would happen next, or how it would change everything they thought they knew about humans and their place in the galaxy. Red drifted in and out of consciousness, catching fragments of the world around them. The first clear sensation was movement. They were being carried on something flat and firm. The humans had managed to free them from the wreckage, though Red couldn't remember how. Their body felt weightless and heavy at the same time, and the pain had turned into a distant throbbing. Through half-open eyes, Red watched tree branches pass overhead. 4 humans carried the stretcher, moving with careful steps over the rough ground. A 5th human walked alongside, holding something against Red's arm. It took several moments for Red's foggy mind to realize it was an intravenous line. Primitive fluid replacement therapy. These humans were trying to treat them. "Hold up," one of the humans said. Red's translator implant was working despite their injuries, converting the simple sounds into meaning. "Need to check the bleeding." The human wearing what appeared to be medical gear bent over Red, lifting the temporary bandages they'd applied. "Still stable. Let's keep moving." 20 minutes to the clearing. Red tried to speak, to warn them that touching an Imperial officer without permission was a death sentence, but only managed a weak clicking sound. The human nearest to their head responded by placing a gentle hand on Red's shoulder. "Stay still, friend. We're getting you help." Friend. The word bounced around in Red's mind. These primitives were treating one of the Empire's most elite soldiers like a civilian rescue. Did they not understand what Red was? The briefings had said humans were surprisingly adaptable, but this calm acceptance of an alien life form went beyond all predictions. The group reached what appeared to be a primitive landing zone, a circular clearing in the forest. Red could hear the approaching sound of what their briefings called a helicopter, a crude flying machine that used rotating blades for lift. These humans had organized a medical evacuation for an unknown alien being. More humans were waiting in the clearing, wearing different colored clothing that Red's training suggested indicated different roles. Some wore the green of the Forest Service, others the white of medical personnel. None carried visible weapons, despite the potential threat Red represented. The helicopter landed, whipping up dust and debris. Red expected to be roughly loaded aboard. Instead, the humans moved with practiced care, keeping the stretcher level as they secured it to a frame inside the aircraft. Two medical workers climbed in beside Red, immediately beginning to check vital signs with their primitive but apparently functional equipment. "Pulse is strange but steady," one said, pressing fingers against Red's neck with surprising gentleness. "Breathing labored but consistent. Whatever they are, they're hanging in there." The helicopter lifted off, its vibrations sending waves of discomfort through Red's injured body. One of the medics noticed their distress and adjusted something in the fluid line. The pain began to fade again, replaced by a floating sensation that Red recognized as medication. Through the aircraft's window, Red caught a last glimpse of their crashed scout ship. Several humans in uniform had surrounded it, but they appeared to be setting up barriers to protect it rather than trying to dismantle it. This went against everything Red had been taught about primitive species and their supposed greed for advanced technology. The flight lasted approximately 30 minutes, during which the medics never stopped monitoring Red's condition. They talked constantly, both to each other and to Red, even though Red never responded. The translator implant kept working, converting their words into meaning. "You're going to be okay. Almost there. Stay with us." Red had never experienced anything like it. In the Empire, medical care was efficient but impersonal. Injured soldiers were treated as resources to be repaired, not individuals to be comforted. These humans, with their primitive technology and simple methods, showed more personal concern than any imperial medical facility. The helicopter landed on top of a large building. A hospital, Red realized. A team of humans was waiting with more medical equipment. As they transferred Red from the helicopter to a wheeled bed, they moved with practiced efficiency that suggested they had done this many times before, though surely never with an alien patient. Inside the building, Red was taken to a room filled with equipment. The humans worked quickly to attach monitoring devices, each movement careful but purposeful. A human in what appeared to be a position of authority, a doctor, Red's briefings supplied, began examining their injuries. "Multiple fractures," the doctor said, looking at something called an X-ray displayed on a screen. "Internal bleeding, but contained. Fascinating bone structure. The good news is their biology seems similar enough to ours that basic treatment should work." Red wanted to laugh at the idea of human medicine being compatible with their superior physiology, but the evidence was hard to deny. The pain medications were working, and the fluid replacement had already helped them feel stronger. These primitives, using what should have been hopelessly outdated methods, were actually helping. A younger doctor approached with what Red recognized as a crude communication device, a tablet computer. On its screen was a simple translation program. The doctor held it where Red could see it and typed, "You are safe. We are doctors. We want to help. Do you understand?" Red managed to move one hand enough to type a response. "Why help enemy?" The doctor looked confused. "Enemy? We're not at war with anyone from space. You're injured, and you need help. That's all that matters to us." The concept was so foreign that Red's translator took several seconds to process it. In the Empire, all unknown species were considered potential enemies until proven otherwise. The idea of helping someone simply because they needed it, without considering political implications, was revolutionary. More humans entered the room, bringing equipment Red didn't recognize. The doctor typed another message. "We need to perform surgery to stop internal bleeding. We will give you medicine to sleep. Do you consent?" Red stared at the message for a long time. To submit to surgery by primitives went against every protocol in the Empire. But these humans, with their strange mix of technological backwardness and ethical advancement, had already defied every expectation. Red typed slowly. "Consent given." The last thing Red saw before the anesthesia took effect was the medical team preparing for surgery, their movements confident despite the unprecedented nature of their patient. The last thing Red heard was one of the nurses saying, "Hang in there, buddy. We'll have you fixed up soon." As consciousness faded, Red found themselves experiencing an unfamiliar emotion. It took several moments to identify it, and when they did, it was shocking. Trust. Somehow, these primitives had earned the trust of an Imperial First Commander. The Empire would never believe it. Red wasn't sure they believed it themselves. But as they drifted into medically induced sleep, they felt safer than they had since the attack that brought them to Earth. Whatever happened next would change everything. Not just for Red, but for human-alien relations forever. The first thing Red noticed upon waking was the absence of pain. Their body felt heavy and strange, but the burning agony from their injuries had been replaced by a dull numbness. The second thing they noticed was the quiet beeping of medical monitors, surprisingly sophisticated ones, given Earth's technological level. 3 days had passed since the surgery, though Red had been conscious for only parts of it. The humans had done what their advanced empire had always considered impossible. They had successfully treated a completely alien life form using what should have been primitive medical techniques. A nurse entered the room, checking the monitors with practiced efficiency. "Good morning," she said, her words automatically translated by Red's implant. "How's our star visitor feeling today?" She had been calling Red that since they first woke up, showing none of the fear one would expect from a primitive encountering an alien life form. Red moved their upper right arm experimentally. The movement was smooth, pain-free. Better, they responded through the tablet computer the humans had provided for communication. Their verbal language was too complex for human vocal cords to reproduce, but the simple text translation worked well enough. "The doctor will be happy to hear that," the nurse said, adjusting something in one of the fluid bags hanging beside the bed. "Your healing rate is incredible. Our treatments seem to be working even better than we hoped." That was an understatement. The humans' medical knowledge, while basic compared to Imperial standards, had proven remarkably adaptable. They had combined their understanding of Earth biology with careful observation of Red's physiology to create effective treatments. It went against everything Red had been taught about human capabilities. The door opened again, and the lead doctor entered, followed by someone new, a human wearing a different type of uniform. Red's military training immediately identified them as some kind of authority figure, though not military. The doctor made introductions through the tablet. "This is Director Thompson from the International Space Agency," the doctor explained. "They would like to ask you some questions, if you feel up to it." Red noticed something interesting. The humans hadn't isolated them or treated them as a military prisoner. Instead, they had sent a civilian scientific authority. It was yet another surprise from a species that seemed determined to defy all Imperial predictions. "How did you detect my emergency beacon?" Red typed. It was a question that had been bothering them since the rescue. "Your technology should not be capable of receiving quantum signals." The director smiled. "We've been picking up interesting signals for years," they explained. "We didn't know what they were until now, but we developed systems to detect and track them. When your ship crashed, we knew exactly where to send help." Red processed this information slowly. The Empire had severely underestimated human technological progress. These primitives had not only detected quantum communications, but had done so without anyone noticing. It was both impressive and concerning. "Your medical technology is also unexpected," Red typed. "How did you know how to treat me?" The doctor stepped forward. "We didn't, at first," they admitted. "But medical science is medical science. We started with basic principles: stopping bleeding, stabilizing bones, preventing infection. Your body did most of the work. We just helped it along." This simple explanation highlighted something Red had been slowly realizing. Humans approached problems differently than the Empire, where Imperial medicine relied on complex technology and predetermined protocols. Humans used observation, adaptation, and what they called educated guesses. It was less efficient, but far more flexible. "There is something else we need to discuss," the director said, their expression growing serious. "We've detected more quantum signals. We believe they're from your people, searching for you. We need to know, Are we in danger? It was a valid question. Standard Imperial protocol for a crashed ship on a primitive world was to destroy all evidence, including any locals who had encountered advanced technology. Red looked at the humans who had saved their life, who had shown more care and compassion than their own people would have. I can help, Red typed slowly. But you must understand something first. My people, the Empire, they think differently than humans. They will not understand why you helped me. They will see it as a primitive species interfering with Imperial property. The director nodded, unsurprised. We figured it might be something like that. That's why we're asking you, not telling you what to do. You've seen how we operate. What do you suggest? This was another surprise. The humans were treating Red as an equal, seeking their input rather than making demands or threats. It was a level of respect that even the Empire rarely showed to its own officers. Red thought carefully before responding. I am a first commander, they typed. My word carries weight. If I report that Earth should be classified as a protected neutral zone for medical emergencies, the Empire will listen. Your medical capabilities, while different from ours, are valuable. The doctor and director exchanged looks. Would that work? The director asked. Would they accept that? The Empire respects useful things. Red typed. Your medical techniques are useful, different from ours, but effective. This could be the basis for official contact. As they typed these words, Red realized how much their own view of humans had changed. In just a few days, these primitives had demonstrated innovation, compassion, and wisdom that rivaled or exceeded that of the Empire. They had earned not just Red's gratitude, but their respect. The nurse returned with what humans called lunch, a meal carefully prepared to match Red's dietary needs as much as possible. Even this simple act showed the humans' attention to detail and care for others' well-being. As Red ate, they continued discussing plans with the director and doctor, working out how to turn a crash landing into a first step toward peaceful contact. Looking out the window at the Earth city below, Red thought about how wrong the Empire had been about humans. They weren't primitives playing with technology they didn't understand. They were a young species, yes, but one with tremendous potential and a unique perspective that could benefit even the mighty Empire. The humans had saved more than Red's life. They had shown them a completely different way of thinking about technology, medicine, and interaction between species. Now it was Red's turn to save something. The possibility of peaceful contact between their peoples, before the Empire's prejudices could destroy it. The hospital room had become something of an observation post for Red over the past week. From their window, they could watch humans going about their daily lives, each observation challenging another Imperial assumption about this species. The Empire had classified humans as primitive based on their technology level, but that view was proving dangerously simple. Today, Red was strong enough to sit in a chair by the window. Their wounds were healing faster than even they had expected, thanks to the strange but effective combination of human medical care and their own biology. The doctors had started reducing their pain medications, and Red's mind felt clearer than it had since the crash. A small group of medical students entered the room, following their teaching doctor. Red had agreed to let them observe their recovery, understanding the humans' desire to learn. In the Empire, such knowledge would be restricted to elite medical facilities. Here, they freely shared information that could help future patients. The rate of bone healing is remarkable. The teaching doctor explained to the students, showing them Red's latest scans. The combination of their natural healing ability and our treatments has produced better results than either might have achieved alone. Red typed on their tablet, the message appearing on a screen where the students could read it. In Empire, doctors would not adapt treatments this way. All must follow standard procedures. The teaching doctor smiled. Sometimes the best solutions come from thinking differently about old problems, they said. Medicine isn't just about following procedures. It's about understanding principles and applying them creatively. This was something Red had been thinking about a lot lately. The Empire's strength came from standardization and advanced technology, but it also made them rigid. Humans, with their need to work around technological limitations, had developed a flexibility that the Empire had lost long ago. A commotion in the hallway drew everyone's attention. The director from the space agency rushed in, their face showing concern. "We're picking up multiple quantum signals," they announced. "Large ships have entered the solar system. They're heading this way." Red felt their hearts race, all three of them. This was happening faster than they had expected. They quickly typed, "Empire Rescue Fleet. Must prepare." "How many ships?" "5 that we can detect," the director replied. "They'll reach Earth orbit in less than 6 hours." The medical students were ushered out of the room as more officials began arriving. Red watched the humans spring into action with impressive efficiency. Within minutes, a crisis response team had assembled in their room, converting it into an impromptu command center. "What should we expect?" the director asked Red. Red typed carefully, wanting to be precise. "Standard protocol for primitive world contact. Show overwhelming force. Demand return of Imperial property. Me. Destroy all evidence of contact. But we can change this. I have plan." The humans listened intently as Red explained their idea. Instead of hiding what had happened, they would showcase it. The humans' medical achievements, their ability to successfully treat an alien life form with relatively primitive technology, could be presented as a valuable resource rather than a threat to Imperial security. "Your people value useful things," the director remembered from their earlier conversations. "So we show them that peaceful contact with Earth is more valuable than enforcing isolation." Red nodded, the human gesture feeling natural after so much time among them. They typed, "Empire respects strength, but strength not just weapons. Medical knowledge is power. Your method's different, but effective. Empire always seeks new advantages." As the humans discussed the plan, Red observed their interaction with growing fascination. Different departments and agencies worked together smoothly despite having no central authority. Decisions were made quickly but with input from multiple sources. It was chaotic compared to Imperial efficiency, but it produced results that were surprisingly effective. The doctor who had overseen Red's treatment spoke up. "We should show them the research we've done. How combining our understanding of medicine with their biology produced better results than either of us could have achieved alone. It's a perfect example of why cooperation benefits everyone." Red felt a strange pride in these humans. They weren't afraid of the Empire's ships, but neither were they aggressive. They were approaching this like they had approached Red's injuries, as a problem to be solved through understanding and adaptation. A young nurse who had been caring for Red since their arrival raised an important point. "Should we move to a more secure location? The Empire ships might see a hospital as a soft target." Red typed quickly, "No, hospital perfect location. Shows trust, shows medical focus. Empire expects military base, fortified bunker. Hospital shows different thinking." The humans nodded, understanding the psychology behind the suggestion. By staying in the hospital, they were making a statement about their priorities and methods. It was a gamble, but one that played to their strengths. As the group worked on preparations, Red watched a family in the parking lot below, parents helping their elderly relative into a car. Such a simple scene, but it showed something the Empire had forgotten. That strength could be found in caring for others, not just in dominating them. Red typed another message. "Need to send signal to Empire fleet. Must be me. Will explain situation. Prepare them for what they find. Less chance of misunderstanding." The director agreed, and their technical team quickly set up a quantum communication device, impressively reverse-engineered from observed signals. Red composed their message carefully, using their authority as a first commander to frame the situation in terms the Empire would understand. Earth medical facilities have demonstrated unexpected capabilities. Local treatment methods, while technologically primitive, show remarkable effectiveness when combined with advanced biology. Recommend classification as protected medical research zone. Full report to follow. Peaceful approach advised. As the message was sent, Red looked around the room at these humans who had saved their life and changed their understanding of what civilization meant. In a few hours, they would face the Empire's rescue fleet. But Red wasn't worried anymore. These humans had already proven themselves more advanced than anyone had expected, not in their technology, but in the ways that truly mattered. The sun was setting outside, painting the sky in colors that reminded Red of home. But now, sitting among these remarkable humans, Red realized that home meant something different than it had before the crash. Sometimes, they thought, the most primitive-looking places could teach the most advanced lessons. The Empire ships arrived exactly as Red had predicted. A precise formation of 5 vessels dropping into low Earth orbit with a display of power meant to intimidate. Their quantum signatures pulsed with familiar patterns that Red's implant translated as standard rescue protocols. The Empire was following its usual playbook for primitive world encounters. From their hospital window, Red watched the sky darken unnaturally as the massive ships took position overhead. The humans around them remained remarkably calm. The medical staff continued their regular duties, only the occasional upward glance betraying their awareness of the situation. Even now, they were defying Imperial expectations. "Multiple communication attempts detected," reported one of the human technicians. "They're using standard Imperial frequencies." Red nodded and began typing on their tablet. The humans had modified their quantum communication system to allow direct interface with Red's neural implant, another example of their ability to adapt existing technology in creative ways. The first message from the Empire fleet was predictably rigid. "Attention, primitive settlement. We detect an Imperial officer in your custody. Prepare for immediate extraction. Resistance will result in settlement termination." Before Red could respond, a second message arrived. "First Commander, if you receive this, confirm status. Rescue team is prepared for hostile extraction." Red carefully composed their reply, making full use of their command authority. "This is First Commander Red. Situation is stable and under control. Local medical facilities have provided exemplary care. Recommend diplomatic approach. Repeat, diplomatic approach advised." There was a long pause as the Empire fleet processed this unexpected response. Red used the time to observe the humans' preparations. They had not activated any defense systems or weapons. Instead, they had prepared detailed medical records, research data, and documentation of Red's treatment. Their response to a potential threat was to gather knowledge. The Empire's reply finally came. "Confirm. You are requesting diplomatic contact with primitive species. This violates standard protocols." "Protocols exist to serve Empire interests," Red transmitted back. "These humans have medical knowledge valuable to Empire. Request permission for rescue team to observe evidence before taking action." Another pause. Red could almost feel the confusion radiating from the fleet above. In all of recorded Imperial history, no one had ever requested peaceful observation of a primitive species during a rescue operation. The Empire valued efficiency above all else, and their standard response would be to extract their officer and eliminate all evidence of contact. Finally, a new message arrived. "Command override accepted. Small team approved for surface observation. Maintain position. Extraction team incoming." Red quickly typed a message to the humans around them. "They are sending small team. This is good. Means they are curious. Curiosity we can work with." The doctor who had overseen Red's treatment smiled. "Should we put on a show for them?" Red typed back, "No show. Just truth. Truth is impressive enough." 20 minutes later, 3 Imperial officers materialized in the hospital parking lot, their combat suits active and weapons ready. Red watched through the window as hospital security calmly directed them to the main entrance, treating them with the same professional courtesy they showed everyone else. The Empire team's arrival on the hospital floor was a study in contrasts. Their aggressive stance and activated weapons seemed absurdly out of place among the quiet medical activities. A nurse walked past them carrying supplies, completely unfazed by their intimidating appearance. When they entered Red's room, the lead officer immediately began a standard rescue assessment. First, Commander, we detect no restraints or control devices. Confirm you are free to leave. Red typed their response on the tablet, letting the human's translation system convert it to Imperial Standard. I stay by choice. These humans have much to teach us. The rescue team's confusion was visible even through their helmets. The second officer activated a medical scanner, then stared at the readings in apparent disbelief. Commander, your injuries. The healing patterns are unprecedented. How did primitives achieve this? The human doctor stepped forward, holding up a tablet displaying Red's treatment records. Would you like to see our methods? We've documented everything. The third Imperial officer moved to intervene, but Red held up a hand in the Imperial gesture for attention. Observe, they typed. Watch how they work. You will understand. Over the next hour, the rescue team witnessed something unprecedented in Imperial history. A primitive species teaching advanced beings about medicine. The doctor showed them scans, explained procedures, and demonstrated how they had combined basic medical principles with observation of Red's biology to create effective treatments. See here, the doctor explained, pointing to a particularly innovative healing technique. We adapted this from our treatment of human trauma patients. By combining it with what we learned about your biology, we achieved better results than either method alone would have produced. The Imperial officers' initial skepticism gradually gave way to professional interest. Their medical officer began asking detailed questions, forgetting momentarily that they were speaking with primitives. The humans answered each query with clear, practical explanations that even the Empire's rigid mindset could appreciate. Their methods are unorthodox, the medical officer finally reported, but the results are undeniable. First Commander's recovery exceeds standard Imperial treatment projections by 47%. Red felt a surge of satisfaction. The Empire respected numbers, data, and measurable results. The humans had provided all three, packaged in a way that even the most traditional Imperial officer couldn't dismiss. The lead officer struggled visibly with the situation. This is irregular, they announced. Protocol requires elimination of primitive species who gain advanced knowledge through contact. Knowledge was already theirs, Red typed. They developed medical techniques independently. They detected quantum signals without our help. Eliminating them wastes valuable resource. A nurse chose that moment to enter the room for Red's regular checkup. She worked around the armed Imperial officers as if they were simply more visiting doctors, checking Red's vital signs with practiced efficiency. Her calm professionalism made the rescue team's combat stances seem almost ridiculous. Their behavior is unexpected, the second officer admitted. No sign of technology worship or aggression. They simply help. Red typed quickly. This is why they are valuable. They think differently, solve problems differently. Empire can learn from this. The lead officer finally lowered their weapon. I must report to Fleet Command. This situation requires new protocols. As the officer transmitted their report, Red watched the humans continue their normal hospital routine around them. Every action demonstrated exactly what Red had learned during their recovery. That advancement couldn't be measured by technology alone. That different ways of thinking could be as valuable as advanced equipment. The Empire fleet's response would shape the future of human-imperial relations. But Red already knew that something fundamental had changed. The Empire had encountered something they had never expected to find on a primitive world. Not just medical knowledge, but a completely different and valuable way of approaching problems. Looking at the strange but effective blend of human care and imperial medicine that had saved their life, Red understood that both sides would be forever changed by this encounter. Sometimes the greatest discoveries came from the most unexpected places, even a simple hospital room on a supposedly primitive world. 1 year had passed since the Imperial Rescue Fleet first appeared in Earth's sky. Red stood at the same hospital window where they had once watched the ships arrive, but the view was very different now. A small Imperial medical facility had been constructed next to the hospital, its advanced architecture blending surprisingly well with the human building. Red touched the window lightly with one hand, remembering their first days of recovery in this room. They were fully healed now, their body showing no signs of the terrible injuries from the crash. The human doctors had documented every step of their recovery, creating a medical process that combined the best of both worlds' knowledge. "The next exchange group arrives today," said Mark, the doctor who had overseen Red's initial treatment. He had become the lead coordinator for the Human Imperial Medical Cooperation Program. 3 Imperial medical officers and 2 human trauma surgeons. Red nodded, typing on their translator tablet out of habit, even though they had mastered enough human speech to make themselves understood. "They will learn much from each other, as I did." The program had started small, a few Imperial medical officers observing human treatment methods, studying how they adapted to unknown situations. But the results spoke for themselves. Combining human adaptability with Imperial technology had produced breakthrough after breakthrough in medical treatment. Outside, a group of human medical students walked past an Imperial doctor, exchanging casual greetings. A year ago, such a scene would have been unthinkable. The Empire had classified Earth as a primitive world to be avoided. Now it was becoming a center for medical innovation. "Latest reports from the Empire's Medical Council," Mark said, holding up his tablet. "They're implementing our trauma response protocols in all their emergency facilities. Apparently, our primitive methods are saving lives across Imperial space." Red felt their chest markings glow with pride, not for the Empire's acceptance, but for the humans who had earned it. They had never tried to impress the Empire or copy its advanced technology. They had simply done what they did best, helping others and sharing knowledge. A soft chime announced the arrival of visitors. The hospital director entered with 2 Imperial officials, not soldiers this time, but medical administrators. They wore civilian dress, another sign of how much things had changed. "First Commander," one of the officials greeted Red formally. "The Medical Council sends their highest regards. Your decision to establish this cooperation has exceeded all projections for success." Red had chosen to remain on Earth as the official liaison between human and Imperial medical services. The Empire had initially opposed the posting, considering it beneath a First Commander's status. The results had quickly silenced any criticism. Success was inevitable. Red typed, sharing the translated message with everyone present. "Humans understand something Empire forgot. Medicine is about helping, not just healing. Technology helps, but caring matters more." The hospital director smiled at this. It had become something of a motto for the cooperation program. Technology helps, caring heals. Imperial doctors had initially dismissed it as primitive sentiment, but they couldn't argue with the results. "We're expanding the program," the second official announced. 3 more facilities like this one, built at major human medical centers. The Empire is also establishing Earth as an official medical sanctuary zone. Any species can seek treatment here without political complications. This was more than Red had ever hoped for. Earth was not just being recognized by the Empire, it was being established as a neutral ground for healing. The humans' remarkable ability to adapt their care to any species made them ideal for such a role. A commotion in the hallway drew their attention. An emergency team rushed past with a patient, an alien merchant whose ship had been damaged in an asteroid field. The team was a mix of human and Imperial medical staff, working together seamlessly. They didn't see different species or technological levels. They just saw someone who needed help. "Watch them work," Red typed to the Imperial officials. "This is what I saw when they saved me. No hesitation, no prejudice, just help for someone in need." Through the observation window, they could see the medical team in action. Human intuition and creativity combined with Imperial technology to stabilize the injured merchant. The officials watched in fascinated silence as procedures that would have been impossible a year ago were performed with practiced ease. "The Empire always valued advancement," Red continued typing. "But we measured it wrong. Humans showed us that true advancement isn't just about technology. It's about finding new ways to help others. Mark added, and your people showed us that we don't have to choose between advanced technology and basic care. We can have both, make both better. The merchant was stabilized, the emergency team already documenting their procedures for future reference. Every case like this added to both human and imperial medical knowledge. The humans' habit of sharing information freely had been shocking to the Empire at first, but the benefits were undeniable. Red moved to the hospital's main entrance, where a memorial plaque had been installed. It showed an image of their crashed scout ship and the simple words, "Where help was needed, help was given." Here, two worlds learned to heal together. The Imperial officials read the plaque with interest. "Such a simple thing," one said. "Just helping an injured being. Who could have predicted it would change everything?" Red thought back to their first conscious moments in this hospital, convinced they were about to die at the hands of primitives. Instead, they had discovered something the mighty Empire had forgotten. That sometimes the most primitive acts, like helping someone in need, could be the most advanced. Outside, the sun was setting just as it had on that first day. But now its light fell on a changed world, one where humans and Imperials worked together, where advanced technology and basic compassion combined to create something greater than either civilization had imagined. The next group arrived soon, Mark reminded everyone. Should we tell them the crash story again? Red's markings glowed with amusement. The story of their crash and rescue had become something of a tradition for new exchange groups. Not because it was dramatic, but because it perfectly captured what both sides had learned. That true advancement could come from the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the most primitive response, simply helping someone in need, could be the most advanced answer of all.